I was halfway across the world when my phone vibrated, and somehow I already knew it wouldn't be good news. I was sitting on a narrow bunk in a freezing transit barracks, boots still on, duffel bag untouched, counting the hours until I could finally go home. Christmas Eve, my first real one in years. I hadn't told anyone yet, not even my family, because I wanted it to be a surprise. I wanted to walk through the door and see their faces light up. I wanted proof that I still mattered. Then the text came. From my father. It's better if you don't come home for Christmas. No explanation. No greeting. Just that. I read it 3 times, waiting for the rest of the message to load. It didn't. I felt this strange pressure in my chest, not sharp, not dramatic, just heavy. Like something settling where hope used to sit. I typed back slowly. Okay, I understand. That was a lie, I didn't understand. But I was tired of asking questions that never got honest answers. I'm 29 years old. I work overseas. I haven't lived in my hometown in almost a decade. Not because I didn't care, but because distance was the only way I could breathe. Still, every month, without fail, half my paycheck went back home. Mortgage, help, utilities, temporary support that somehow lasted years. I told myself that was what family did. 2 minutes after my reply, my sister texted. Please don't make this weird. We're just trying to have a calm holiday. Make this weird, like my existence was a disruption. Like I was an awkward guest instead of a daughter. That was the moment something in me went quiet, not anger. Not tears, clarity, that night. While everyone back home was decorating trees and wrapping gifts they couldn't afford, I logged into every account that still had my name attached to it. The auto payments, the insurance bills, the transfers labeled, just until things stabilize. I didn't slam doors. I didn't announce anything. I just turned things off one by one carefully, professionally, like I'd been trained to do. Then I sent one short email to the mortgage service. Effective immediately. I will no longer be contributing financially. Please direct all future communication to the primary borrower. I stared at the screen after hitting send. My hands weren't shaking. That's what scared me the most. 2 days later, I boarded the flight anyway. Not to go home, but to finish something I had started without realizing it. Because sometimes revenge doesn't start with screaming or confrontation. Sometimes it starts with silence. And I had never been more silent in my life. I thought cutting off the money would end things quietly. I was wrong. Because less than 48 hours later, my phone started ringing, and one of the missed calls wasn't from my family. It was from their lawyer. The first call came while I was still in the air. No signal, no voicemail. Just a missed call notification the moment the plane touched down. Then another. And another. By the time I stepped into the terminal, my phone was vibrating nonstop like it was having a panic attack of its own. 7 missed calls, 3 from my father, 2 from my sister, 1 from an unknown number, and 1 voicemail notification that didn't belong to any of them. I didn't listen to it right away. I grabbed my bag, walked past families hugging and laughing, and took a cab to a cheap roadside motel just outside the city. The kind of place with flickering lights and thin curtains that never quite close. I paid cash. Didn't give my real reason for being there. I didn't want to be found. Only then did I sit on the edge of the bed and press play. Hello, this message is for Miss Carter. My name is Daniel Reeves, legal counsel representing your parents. We need to speak regarding a sudden withdrawal of financial support tied to their property. Please return this call as soon as possible. I laughed, not a happy laugh, not even a bitter one. Just a quiet sound that came out of me before I could stop it. Now they wanted to talk, not when I sent money across oceans. Not when I missed birthdays and holidays. Not when I slept on couches during visits because my old room had been turned into storage. Now, I didn't call back. Instead, I ordered cheap takeout, shut off the lights, and sat in the dark with my phone face down on the table like it was something dangerous. By morning, the messages had changed. My father's voice went from angry to panicked. You don't understand what you've done. This could cost us the house. Call me now. My sister followed, her tone sharp but nervous. You're being selfish. You always do this. Mom hasn't stopped crying. There it was. The guilt card. It almost worked. Almost. But then, I remembered every time I cried alone and no one noticed. Every time I was told to be strong, while everyone else was allowed to fall apart. I turned my phone on silent and went for a walk. My hometown looked the same. Same stores, same streets. Same people pretending nothing ugly ever happened behind closed doors. I passed the old bakery, the gas station where I worked as a teenager, the park where my sister had birthday parties I helped pay for but was never thanked for. By the time I returned to the motel, the front desk clerk looked at me strangely. "Your phone's been ringing all day," she said. "Someone even asked if you were staying here." My stomach tightened. They were escalating. That night, the lawyer called again, then sent an email. "This situation can still be resolved privately." Resolved. Like I was a problem to be managed. That was when I realized something important. They weren't upset because I was gone. They were terrified because the money was. And for the first time in my life, I had leverage. I lay back on the motel bed, staring at the cracked ceiling and let my phone keep buzzing. Because tomorrow, I wasn't just going to stay silent. I was going to make sure they felt exactly what it was like to lose control. They thought calling a lawyer would scare me. What they didn't know was that I already had receipts. And I was done keeping them private. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was anxious, but because my mind was finally clear. By sunrise, I had made a decision. If they wanted to turn this into a legal issue, then I was done protecting them. I opened my laptop and created a single folder. Inside it, I placed everything. Bank transfers dating back nearly 8 years. Monthly mortgage payments with my name attached. Insurance bills. Utility statements. Emergency transfers labeled, "Just for now," thousands upon thousands of dollars. Money I had sent quietly, faithfully, without conditions. Money they had accepted without shame. I titled the folder, Truth. Then I logged into social media. I hadn't posted in months, maybe years. I was always too busy, which was just another way of saying I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere enough to be visible. That changed. I uploaded one photo, just one. It was a screenshot of my bank history, names blurred, account numbers blacked out, dates and totals clearly visible. Caption: I was told not to come home for Christmas. So I stopped paying for it. That was it. No rant, no explanation. No insults. Just facts. I hit post and closed the app. For 5 minutes, nothing happened. Then my phone exploded. Comments, messages, notifications stacking faster than I could read them. Cousins, old classmates, family friends. Is this real? You were paying their mortgage. They always said you abandoned them. Abandoned. That word burned. My mother's profile went dark within an hour. My father changed his picture to a random landscape. My sister posted something vague about private matters being exploited for attention, but it was too late. Screenshots had already been taken. People talk, especially in small towns. The lawyer called again. This time, his voice was different. Less confident, more controlled. "I think emotions are running high," he said carefully. "Perhaps we should discuss this in person." I agreed. Not because I wanted peace, but because I wanted to see their faces when the power shifted. We chose a public place, a diner off the highway, neutral ground. That afternoon, my sister sent one last message. "You've embarrassed us. You've gone too far. You always think you're the victim." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed one sentence. "You were comfortable when I was invisible." I didn't send it. I didn't need to. Because the truth was already doing the talking for me. That evening, as I sat alone in the motel room, I felt something strange settle over me. Not joy, not relief, control. For the first time in my life, they were reacting to me, and tomorrow, they would understand what that really meant. They thought the meeting was about money. They were wrong. Because I wasn't coming alone. And the person walking in with me was about to destroy the last illusion they had left. I arrived 10 minutes early, old habit. I always liked knowing the exits before anyone else walked in. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and fried onions. Holiday lights blinked in the corner like they didn't realize how uncomfortable the room was about to get. I chose a booth against the wall, back straight, eyes on the door. When they walked in, I barely recognized them. My father looked smaller. Not older, smaller. His shoulders were stiff, jaw tight like he'd been chewing on anger all day. My mother clutched her purse with both hands. My sister wore sunglasses indoors, which told me everything I needed to know. They slid into the booth across from me. No hugs, no greetings. My father spoke first. "We don't want this to get uglier than it already is." I took a sip of coffee, didn't answer. My mother leaned forward. "We're family. We can fix this." "Fix?" My sister scoffed. "You didn't have to humiliate us online." I finally looked at her. "I didn't humiliate you." I stopped lying. My father's face reddened. "You made us look like criminals. You made yourselves look dependent," I said calmly. "I just showed the math." Silence fell heavy between us. My mother's voice cracked. "We didn't ask you to do all of that." I nodded slowly. No, you just expected it. My father slammed his hand on the table. Place rattled. A waitress glanced over but didn't intervene. You think this makes you better than us? He snapped. No, I said. It makes me done. My sister ripped off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red, angry, afraid. You're cruel, she said. You're doing this to your own family. I leaned back. I've been doing things for this family for years. This is the first thing I've done for myself. That's when the bell above the diner door rang. Slow. Deliberate. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to, because I heard the cane hit the floor once. Twice, then a familiar voice. Well, he said calmly, this looks uncomfortable. My father froze. My mother's face drained of color. My sister whispered, what is he doing here? I smiled for the first time that day. The man stepped closer, tall despite the cane, eyes sharp, presence heavy. He looked at me first. You okay? He asked. I nodded. I am now. He turned to them. I heard you've been calling lawyers and playing victims, he said. Funny, that's not how I remember things, my father stammered. This is a private family matter, the man shook his head. No, this is accountability. Then he reached into his coat and placed a sealed envelope on the table. The sound it made was soft. The effect was not. No one touched the envelope. Because they already knew whatever was inside it was about to end everything they thought they owned. No one reached for it. The envelope sat in the center of the table like a loaded weapon, thick, official, and final. My father stared at it as if it might disappear if he didn't acknowledge it. My sister's breathing had gone shallow. My mother looked between the envelope and the man who brought it, like she was hoping this was all some misunderstanding she could cry her way out of. The man cleared his throat. I didn't come here to argue, he said evenly. I came to make something clear. He pulled out a single document and slid it forward. My updated will, signed, notarized, filed. My sister laughed nervously. That's not funny. It's not a joke, he replied. And it's not negotiable. My father's voice shook. You can't just cut us out. The man finally sat down. Slowly, carefully. I can, he said. And I did. Silence crashed down around us. He continued, calm and precise. I watched this young woman give and give until there was nothing left of her but obligation. I watched you accept it like it was your right. And when she stopped, you panicked. My mother whispered, we're her family. He turned to her. Family doesn't drain someone and then call them disloyal when they finally stand up. My father clenched his fists. You don't know the whole story. I know enough, the man said. And I know who showed up when I was sick. Who flew across the world without being asked. Who didn't demand anything in return. He looked at me. That's why everything goes to her. My sister's face twisted. You're doing this out of spite. No, he said. I'm doing this out of respect. My father stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly across the floor. This is betrayal. The man met his eyes without flinching. No, this is consequence. I finally spoke. You taught me loyalty meant sacrifice, I said quietly. You just never expected it to stop. My mother reached across the table. Please, we can fix this. I shook my head. You had years. My sister's voice cracked. So that's it. You ruin us and walk away. I stood up. I didn't ruin you, I said. I stopped saving you. I placed cash on the table for my coffee and looked at the man beside me. Thank you, I said. He nodded once. As I walked toward the door, my father shouted after me, You've changed. I turned back for the last time. No, I said. I just stopped pretending. The bell rang again as I stepped outside. Cold air hit my face. And for the first time in my life, I felt light. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. Because the real fallout didn't happen in that diner, it happened after the will became public. The fallout didn't explode. It collapsed, quietly, publicly, permanently. Within a week, everything unraveled. The will became public record. There was no courtroom drama, no shouting matches, no last-minute miracles. Just paperwork stamped and sealed by people who didn't care about feelings, only facts. The house was listed for sale, not because anyone wanted to move, but because they had no choice. Without my money, the payments stacked up fast. Late notices, warnings, final reminders. The same pressure they used to dump on me was now sitting squarely on their own chests. My sister posted less. When she did, the comments weren't kind. Thought hard work paid off. Guess the ATM shut down. Funny how silence speaks. She deleted her account a month later. My father tried once more. One message, short, careful. You didn't have to take it this far. I stared at it for a long time. Then I blocked the number. No speech, no closure. No final explanation. Because closure is something you give yourself. The man who stood beside me at the diner handled everything else. Lawyers, transfers, signatures. He never pushed, never rushed me. Just made sure things were done right. 2 months later, I stood in a quiet living room surrounded by moving boxes. Not their house, mine. It wasn't big, it wasn't fancy, but it was peaceful. No guilt, no expectations. No voice in my head telling me I owed someone just for existing. I set one photo on the shelf. A simple one. Me and the man who saw me when no one else did. I took a deep breath. This was what safety felt like. No bracing. No waiting for the next demand. No phone vibrating with emergencies that weren't mine. I haven't spoken to them since. There were rumors, accusations, stories about how I changed. They were right. I did. I changed from someone who survived to someone who chose herself. If you're listening to this, and it feels familiar if you've been carrying people who only love you when you're useful, hear this clearly. Walking away doesn't make you heartless. It makes you free. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about letting them face life without you holding it together. And that's the quiet kind of justice that lasts.